Alright, folks, here's what you've been waiting for. It's time for Imagination Land. We're going to imaginary numbers. Alright, this one kind of stumped me for a moment because 252 is not a number I'm used to. So I started off with the basic and I said, hey, I'm going back to the basics here. There's a 2. So I did that and I got 2 times, basically cut it in half, 126. And I said, okay, I can break up the 126. So that was 2. And that can go in half, that's 2. And then I get that half of that 63. Now we're getting somewhere. Because then I got my pair of buddies, so that 4 is coming out as a 2. Okay? 63 is 9 times 7. Well, what's the square root of 9? 3 comes out, and the square root of 7 doesn't. So when I'm done here, I basically just got 6 square root of 7. Okay? Just to bust that one up. Now, I have a feeling it was supposed to have a negative sign in there. And if it did, then it would be 6i squared root of 7. But I'm going to leave it as is and go on from there. Number 10, square root of negative 25. Nice and easy. That's just 5i. Simple, simple, simple. Square root of 25 is 5. And negative sign there. This one's a little tougher. Negative 12, you got a 4. You've got a 3. And then you've got the negative 1. Well, the 4 comes out as a 2. The negative 1 comes out obviously as an I. And radical 3. And then the next one, well, what is this? This is just the same as the one we did in number 10, except what are you going to do? You got 25 times 2, don't you, to get 50. And then the square root of negative 1. So 5 comes out, the negative 1 comes out as an I, and I got radical 2 left over. Piece of cake. Keep moving on. Alright, so in this case here, we don't like the radical on the bottom. So we're going to multiply by radical of negative 2 in the top and in the bottom. So on the top, you've got 3 times the radical of a negative 1 times radical 3. Oops. We'll erase that and clean that up. Times a radical 2. I'm breaking up the 6. So the square root of negative 6 is all those. And now times the square root of 2 and a negative 1 again. Okay. In the bottom, you've got 6 times the square root of negative 2. Now, you can look at that. I'm going to look at that one a little differently here. Only because we got 2 of the same things. Now what happens here is this comes out as a negative 2. So you got 6 times the negative 2 on the bottom. In the top here, what comes out? Well, you've got an I and another I comes out. And then you got a pair of buddies. A 2 is going to come out. So I get 6 times the 2 out and 3 out in front, so that's a 6. And then you got an I times I, which is an I squared. And then I still got a radical 3 here. Remember what I squared is, it's a negative number. So this is equal to negative 6 radical 3 over a negative 12. And then if you clean it up here, change color, the negatives cancel. 6 goes into 12 twice. Your final answer is square root of 3 over 2. Complicated on that one. Okay. Next one over here, same thing. I got a square root of a negative 1 times the square root of a 3 times the square root of a first 6. You break it down into 3, 2, and negative 1. So if you want to look at it that way, you got pairs of buddies. Square root of negative 1 and square root of negative 1 means a negative 1 comes out in front. Square of buddies here, pair of 3s, so a 3 comes out. And the radical 2 still stays inside. So what's the final answer? Negative 3 radical 2 is the way to look at it. Number 15, same thing. I would look at it this way. I've got a square root of a negative 1. And I'm going to leave the 6 whole this time. Because when I break up 18, that's 6 and 3. And a negative 1. So I got a pair of buddies right here with the 6s. I got a pair of buddies with the square root of negative 1s. So that comes out as a -1 times the 6, so it's a -6. And square root of 3 is left under the radical. Okay, so number 16 here. We got 2. I'm not going to bust up radical 10 because I'm taking a look at it on the next part. In the -3, I'm going to multiply. That's part of it. I'll put these all in parentheses if you want. And then the square root of -40 is also square root of -10. Okay, sorry, phone rang. Now we got to get back to where we were. 40 we can break up into 10. Also square root of 4. And also square root of -1 for the negative part of the 40. Okay, so I got a lot of stuff here. So what comes out? Well, change the colors here. Square root of 10s come out. What do they come out as? A 10. Then I got a square root of 4 right here. That comes out as a 2. Then I have what? I still had a 2 out in front already. So that takes care of that 2. I had a -3 out in front of the other one, so that was already out. And of course, the square root of a -1 comes out as an I. According to my calculations, nobody's left. So it all comes out. So now it's a matter of cleaning this whole thing up. 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, times 10, so that's a -12I. I did my calculations right. Off and rolling on that one. Okay, and to wrap this up, if we take a look up here, whenever there's a negative number under a radical sign, it comes out from underneath. Okay. The I. Since the problem will contain a square root of -1. And that's all you have to do. The big thing is that I is equal to the square root of -1. Okay? When simplifying these radicals, in terms of I, follow the usual rules for simplifying radicals. Okay? Treat the rules, treat them as you're going along. Working with a variable, kind of like the I is a variable. Just like the square roots, you can only combine square roots with square roots. You can only combine I's with I's, all that good stuff. And you're off and running. Nice, easy, actually, concept. And I think you guys can run with this chapter really well. All right? Have a good one. We'll see you in class tomorrow.